Welcome back to the Lawson Farm, everyone. Today we are planting a privacy screen across the top side of the farm here where we had a bunch of land cleared. And I wanted to talk about a few things here when you plant a privacy screen, because I know a lot of people do this. And a lot of people just assume certain things and they go about planting their trees and either don't do it right, pick the wrong plant, pick the wrong tree. So I'm going to kind of try to educate everyone on planting these privacy screens today. Now, I'm here in North Carolina in Zone 7. Be more specific, 7B. But and the two most common types of privacy screen is these Green Giant Arborvitaes, which is what I'm using today and what I totally recommend if you're going to plant a privacy screen. And then you have the Leyland cypress. Now that's what's been most commonly used for the past several years. They're everywhere. I mean, they work, they do the job, but these here Arborvitaes, in my opinion, are a better looking tree in the end. Plus, they're more disease resistant. They're wind resistant. The Leyland cypress, if you have them in a place where there's a lot of wind coming through, which right across this ridge here, it blows a lot. And the Leyland cypress just don't hold up good in wind. They'll tend to blow over once they get tall. And these trees are going to get tall. They're going to be real tall. But like I said, in my opinion, the only thing, these are a really nice tree. They look a lot better. When they get grown, they have a whole lot better shape to them. The texture of the tree and everything, the density of the tree, I really like them. And I don't know if you see an old row of Leyland cypress, you might notice that down towards the bottom, excuse me, down towards the bottom, the lower limbs will start to die out once they start getting shaded out from the rest of the tree. And these, you don't have that problem. It stays thick to the ground until forever. They'll always be that way. And these I do feel like will get it to be a bigger tree than a Leyland cypress. So that's one thing to take into consideration. Don't plant these under a power line or anything like that, because they'll eventually get topped by the power company. But anyways, that's one thing I wanted to mention. Now, we've got, I think, 36 trees laid out right here, and I'm going to be planting these roughly 5 foot apart. That's a little close, but I kind of want it to fill in fast, so, and it's not going to really affect the tree any. I've got another row planted out here that's been here for, see, the wind's blowing up here now. But I've got another row over here that's been planted for roughly 10 years, and these things are ginormous already. And I do have them too close to the road. I will say that. It hadn't caused a problem yet, but I kind of feel like it's a ticking time bomb, and one of these days it probably will cause a problem. And that's one thing you want to make sure of when you're planting next to the road. Make sure you're far enough off of the road to prevent wrecks or anything, because if you get them too close to the road, you're going to limit visibility, especially if you live in an intersection where people are going to be pulling out of one road and into the other road. And you're going to limit visibility if you have your trees planted too close to the road, which is what I have out here on these older trees. I planted those like I said, about 10 years ago. Honestly, I wasn't thinking about how big the trees were going to get. I knew they were going to get that big, but it just didn't. It didn't seem like it was that close to the road at the time. Well, now that they're bigger, they're pretty close to the road. So I'm going to take you around here and show you what we got going on. All right, so hopefully the sun's not too bright across here, but you can see I've got these trees laid out. Now these are in 1 gallon pots, and I mean, I'm still close to the road up here, but I measured, and I'm not 100% sure, but I measured and I'm roughly 15 foot off of the white line. And I'm pretty sure that here in North Carolina, that's the recommended distance, like if you're putting up a fence or trees or whatever, from the white line. Now you do have to take in consideration that these trees, even though you've got them planted here, once they grow out, they're going to be up here. That's what I wasn't thinking about when I planted this row right out here. Now, in case you're new to the channel, this used to be all in woods, so you couldn't really see much down through here anyways, and we cleared it off to have a little bit more pasture land and just to really clean the farm up. And so now I'm wanting to put a block across here to kind of hide everything I got going on here, because see, from the road you can see pretty much everything we do when we're at home, unless you're right up here. Now these trees do a really good job of blocking. They make a good wind block, they make a good privacy screen. But you can see there just how big these trees are. They're huge. And you can also see just how close they are to the road. And like I said, I plan on trimming down the sides of these trees here before long, because I know sooner or later the guy that comes down the side of the road and mows the side of the road with the bush hog and what all, he's probably going to take care of them trees for me and make a mess out of them. So I'm going to try to trim some off of them just to keep them back far enough that hopefully that'll never happen. And plus also it'll kind of get them out of the way of the intersection there. Now, like I said, these are, of course, they look a little closer than they are right now because I've got them setting up the hill from the actual spot where they're going to be planted. But we are looking at the way I'm going to do it. I've got an orange dot every 5 foot, and every so many trees I'd go up and measure off the road, and it was roughly 15 foot. I'm not gonna lie, I might have been a little closer in some spots. But now this part out here is sort of like a straight road, so I don't see it causing any problems in the future. But I'm gonna get started planting these trees here, and I'll show you how to put them in the ground. It's pretty easy, nothing out of the ordinary. I do use this tiller right here to dig the holes, and it makes awesome for planting shrubs and trees. But yep, we'll get these things stuck in the ground, and these things are pretty tough. They don't require any type of special maintenance whatsoever. But let's get started getting these things dug and putting them in the ground. So while I'm digging the holes, I wanted to talk about the trees a little. These trees, as I was saying before, tend to have less disease and bug problems and everything else, less than the Leyland cypress. The only thing that I have found that bothers these green giant arborvitaes is the bagworm. And if the bagworms get bad enough on the tree, it will eventually kill the tree. However, a simple like insecticide sprayed at the right time will take care of the bagworm problem. That's the only thing that I've found so far that bothers these trees. Now, the Leyland cypress have numerous types of cankers and diseases and root rot and all types of things that actually affect the tree. I've seen several cases where trees die in a row of Leyland cypress, and you know, once the tree gets so big, you can't replace it with a tree of that size again. But anyways, these trees will grow extremely fast. You know, the trees I showed you earlier were roughly 10 years old, and they're a good 25 foot tall, maybe 30. And, you know, so in the right growing conditions, they're going to grow in a hurry. Now, I do have those placed like on like a zigzag pattern, I guess you would say. It's like basically 2 rows of trees, and each row, one row is, I've got the trees 8 foot apart in, and the second row is stepped up the hill another 4 foot, and those trees are also 8 foot apart. However, the trees are zigzagged from each other, so the row down the bottom, at the bottom of the hill, has a tree at the top of the hill that's directly in the center of each tree at the bottom of the hill. I hope that makes sense there. It's kind of hard to explain without showing it, but like I said, they're at a zigzag pattern. But that's also another way to do these trees if you're looking to fill in an area real fast and you've got plenty of room to work with, which right here we're trying to save space, and so we're going to keep one single run of trees. But that's just something I wanted to kind of mention here while I was digging these holes out. So y'all, I want to take a minute to talk about the tiller here I'm using. This is the Manus tiller. It's got the Honda 4-stroke engine on it, and these tines are, I mean, they're so thin, and you would think that they would just bend up and mangle up anytime they would hit a rock, but they don't. It's amazing at how tough these tines are, and this thing does an awesome job of digging these holes to plant these shrubs. I want to show you. You see how loose that dirt is? So that makes it just perfect to fill back in around that tree. And you, of course, you get a bigger hole than what you actually need, which is what you want when you're planting a tree. I'm just looking out through there. I think I might have messed up somewhere. Them holes ain't quite straight. And that's something else I would like to mention. If this weren't following a road and the road's got a curve in it, so it doesn't, it's kind of hard to do. But if I was running down a fence line or a property line or something, I would have put a stake out there and a stake behind me and run a string between the two to keep a straight line for these trees. But like I said, where this is on the side of a road and the road curves, it's kind of hard to do that. Kind of hard to talk with traffic going here too. But anyways, this dirt is rocky, but I'm gonna try to get you some up close footage here of this tiller working. I want to show you just how well this thing does. Now it looks like it's beating me to death when I'm tilling with it, but it's not really that bad. Alright, so we got most of the holes dug. I've done planted a couple of the trees right out through there. And I wanted to show you just what you do when you go to put one of these in the ground. They pretty simple. Let's see if we can sit up here to where you guys can see. Alright, so when you pull it out of the pot, now these are 1 gallon pots. I'll dump any excess dirt into the hole there. And a lot of times your roots will be all wadded around inside the pot like that right there. And you want to make sure to break that loose, because if not, when you put this in the ground, that's going to keep on growing in a circle and eventually like smother this plant. So you want to make sure you break all that loose before you put it in. And then just basically set it in the hole straight and start bringing in some dirt around. Now, I like to use a small shovel when I'm doing this kind of work. I mean, a long handle shovel to work. This is a kid's shovel. It's actually Jacob's shovel. But use that shovel to pack down that dirt. And make sure the whole time you're doing it, you've got your tree straight, or your shrub, or whatever you're putting in. And just rake that dirt up around. However, you do not want to cover the crown of this tree right there. So many people make that mistake of planting the trees too deep. Then that crown right there is perfect. It's right level with the soil line. So once you do that, I'll go back around and I'll tamp the dirt back down in there again. Then I'll go back and rake more around it, and that's pretty much it. If I had more dirt to work with, now this is so rocky right here, there's not a lot of dirt. It's more rocks than it is dirt. But let's see if I can show you. I would try to build a small berm around the bottom side of this plant where it's on a hillside, and that'll kind of help as rainwater's coming down. That'll help catch it. That way it can soak in around the tree roots instead of running off and not soaking in. But that's the basics of putting the tree in the ground. And that's the basics of putting the tree in the ground. So we're going to get the rest of these planted here. Still got quite a few to do out there. You can see there's several out there. But we'll get these done and we'll catch back up with you in a few minutes. So we finished up every bit of these trees here. We've got all of them in the ground, all of them planted. I do have a few left over out here because I was going to put them all the way pretty much to my property line, which is almost at the neighbor's yard out there. However, I've kind of changed my mind here. I want to see what you guys think. Now, like I said, I was originally going to put these all the way across. But what I'm thinking now is I'm going to stop them right there where they're at, which is right here. Now, keep in mind, these trees have to have full sun, and with these big trees here, they're not going to be in full sun across the rest of this. They'll have morning sun, but they won't have from afternoon through the evening sun. So what I'm thinking is, since I'm planning on pasturing this in for the goats, is, my fence will be running roughly right in here, and I'll come up and kind of turn up towards the road just a little bit, and I'm thinking about maybe putting a gate in right here just in case we ever needed to get in on this side of the pasture. I doubt that's ever going to happen, but it would be here. And my fence is going to run right down through that little bit of brush to the bottom side of it and back out to the barn. So that's just kind of what we were thinking about, maybe doing that way, just in case we needed to get in this side of the fence, we can do it. Like I said, I highly doubt we'd ever need to, but I'm just thinking in the future, if I plant these trees here and put in my fence, if I plant the trees and put in the fence the way was planning on doing it, with the trees all the way out, those trees will always be there. Unless I cut them down, which they're not going to do that great under these trees anyways, because it's not full of sun. And so I was like, well, why not? Let's just leave this little bit open and try to put a gate in. So y'all leave down in the comments and let me know what you think. I think that sounds like a good idea, because I can always come back and plant more trees. It's not a hard thing to do, and I've got plenty of trees left over. So everybody leave down in the comments and let me know what you think. Should I put a gate out here on the other end of the pasture, or should I not worry about it? It's obviously going to be a while before this is pasture because we have no grass on it right now. It is sowed. I kind of hate being up here walking around on it and driving this Kubota on it with it sowed. And if you get down and look on your hands and knees, you can see it starting to come up too. But I'm expecting at least a year before we're able to really put this in pasture, just to give this new grass time to establish itself. But I'm thinking in the future too, and trying to think ahead, and I think I really might want to put a gate right here just in case. Like I say, you never know. Might have to bring something in off of the road. I mean, I don't know. You never know what you might have. You know, you can never have too many gates, because when you're in the pasture working, you have to ride all the way back around or something, especially if it's a big pasture, and you'd be like, man, I wish I had a gate here. So I'm just thinking that might be what I do. But anyways, we are done planting these trees. Now, I would recommend watering them in. We're not going to water these in because the trees were fairly wet when we planted them, and we're expecting quite a bit of rain here in the next few days, so I don't think there's much need in watering them in. However, if you weren't expecting rain within the next day or two, I would definitely recommend watering them in. You really need to do that anyways. And honestly, if I wasn't so far away from a water hose, I'd be watering them in right now. But it's a good little drag to drag a water hose all the way out here. So anyways, thanks for watching, everyone. And we will catch up with you on the next video. And we'll talk to you later.